Summer 2005, England, in the grip of a highly contagious virus. It's arrived from abroad, and millions get the bug. The symptoms? Tension, dizziness, anxiety, and joy.
You're cursing and praying and screaming and gibbering and drooling.
The ache is so bad,
Australia, England for the Ashes, one of the greatest, if not the greatest sporting event that exists on planet Earth.
This summer, a little piece of history was made. England came here to fight an epic sporting battle, and over 2 long months that frankly felt like 2 long years, a whole new legion of cricket fans were, well, quite simply mesmerised by the deeds of Andrew Freddie Flintoff, Michael Vaughan, the captain, and KP, Kevin Pietersen. They did what no one thought was possible. They beat the best team in the world, and they won the best prize of all, the Ashes.
When we beat Australia, it is a joy that you cannot possibly transmit or communicate to others. It is so intense, it radiates your whole being, and you skip on air for weeks. When we lose to Australia, oh God, we kind of laughed.
Bowled him! How about that?
I think the Australians, my wife's Australian, so I can say this, are fundamentally chippy.
It's a good catch. That is a very good catch.
A freaky series, freaky things happen.
This time, if we beat Australia, we're the best team in the world.
Yes! Magnificent!
And Flintoff is a distillation of the historical aggression with a sort of equality and fairness. I love that big boy. He can bowl.
I felt sick.
You could call it a love-hate relationship. I loved them and they hated me.
It's the convict's revenge, isn't it? Let's be candid. It's unquestionably all those old prisoners coming back up from down under to slaughter the vicious pigs that dispatched them in the first place.
Has there ever been an Ashes series like it? Lords, Edgbaston, Old Trafford, Trent Bridge and the Oval all witnessed some of the most remarkable cricket anyone can remember. And entering the Test Match Hall of Fame, 3 new heroes. England's Kevin Pietersen and Freddie Flintoff, and the skipper, Michael Vaughan. Men who helped make the impossible happen, bringing home the Ashes for the first time in 18 years. It's the greatest cricketing prize of them all. So sit back and let Flintoff, Warne, Vaughan and Pietersen be your guides through 5 epic Test matches that made it an unforgettable summer. 2 months when we all got a serious case of Ashes fever.
Since you're probably 7, 8 years of age, it's don't let the Poms win anything. They can't win. And I suppose all through me growing up, I saw Australia basically win the Ashes just about every time.
I think the real key to the Ashes is that it's a 5-test series. It's a bit like an opera or a Shakespeare tragedy or something, in that it's in 5 acts. And so in that time, you can see all sorts of mental torture of the players as they go through different kinds of situations, bowlers getting on top of batsmen getting on top of bowlers, and you see that reflected throughout the 5-test series. And it's really the only contest in cricket which has a 5-test series and the history associated with it, 130 years of it.
Please, somebody help us beat Australia.
This time, England were not only determined to beat Australia, they were also quietly confident. Not since the days when Ian Botham was in his pomp and England held the Ashes. In 2005, men like Freddie Flintoff were ready to emulate that remarkable achievement.
Freddie Flintoff is, like Shane Warne, he's one of those people who lights up a cricket field, and like Ian Botham famously before him. I think the difference is, again, is part of this attitude. He seems a gentler soul, although he's immensely aggressive. I mean, as a bowler, no one would call him gentle.
Freddie's a fantastic bowler, and he's going to put any batsman in the world under pressure.
There's a sweet gentleness about him. He has soft eyes and he's kind of attractive, but not in a ludicrous kind of model type way, but in a good English yeoman way.
The first test began on Thursday, July the 21st at a packed Lords. Conditions were perfect. More than half the England team had never played an Ashes match before.
We had a belief that we'd played well in the one-day games. We played well enough to believe that we could be successful in the Ashes series, but we also knew as a team, and I think as a management, that we'd have to play beyond our expectations to go on and win the Ashes. I think what was quite nice about that situation was that we didn't have any players who'd really played in Ashes series before. We had a young team who had no scars.
By contrast, the Aussies wore their battle honours with pride, more than 700 caps between them. But had they ever sampled an atmosphere like this at Lords?
The noise level just rose and rose. So the moment they stepped out on the pitch, it was like nothing they'd ever experienced before. And the sense of expectation was very high. And the adrenaline was pumping and everyone was sort of saying, come on, this is it.
This was it. And the adrenaline was in overdrive. But it was England who were pumping. Australia were rocked by English aggression.
Let's hit them, okay, because it hurts. Harmison bowls the ball at 92 miles an hour. It hits you on the head, it hurts. And it'll hurt you even if you're an Australian, okay? So let's do that, and let's try something like that.
That's the second time this morning that Harmison has... Well, that's cut the Australian captain.
It was very noticeable to me that nobody went to ask Ricky Ponting how he was. It's in cricket, it's usual that if an opposition player gets hurt and badly hurt, you go up to him and ask him, is he okay? It's the kind of etiquette, the done thing. Not one England player went up to Ponting, and it was very clear to me that they were trying to make a statement of aggressive intent.
That's the line from Hoggard.
Shaken and destabilised, the Australians began to lose wickets. England knocked over 5 for 87.
High in the air and will be caught, must be caught, is caught! Justin Langer has gone!
Yes, it's the very slow raising of the finger.
The Aussies began to fight back in the shape of the fearsome Adam Gilchrist.
I describe it as the sort of samurai sword of the Australian team. You know, they've all got flashing blades, and he's the one with the really big blade that's going to come and sever the head kind of at number 7 and kill you off.
Crunch. That one is crunch once again.
Gilchrist had taken 26 from 19 balls. He was challenging Flintoff head-on. And then...
We targeted the fact that we thought Gilchrist may struggle against him. We found that out in the one-day series.
That's out. Out. That's out. No feet. Pitched up. He's gone. 6 down. 126. The real key player is out. How big a wicket is this? You just have to look at the response from Flintoff and all his teammates rallying around this excellent fast bowling at the moment. That's good stuff from Stephen Harmison. Fast and full and straight.
After Flintoff's success, Steve Harmison took over. He finished with 5 Australian wickets for just 43.
Now then, this is a difficult chance. Jones takes it. It swirled in the air. Jones swirled underneath it. But in the end, he steadied himself, which is just what you have to do. Good one. Good one, is it? It's out. It really roared back off the seam. And again, it's this extra bounce that Harmison gets.
Well, that's got to be Clark. That's got to be out. Yes, he's gone. Plum LBW. Harmison has struck again. Beautifully bowled. Harmison absolutely spot on target there. And ends up with figures of 5 for 43. A wonderful performance. There were plenty of us at the start of this series who were of the view that Harmison's contribution was going to be vitally important.
It really was a blazing start. England had knocked over the Australians for 190 before tea on the first day of the series. You kind of had to pinch yourself as a reminder that this was the best team in the world we were playing. Mind you, the euphoria wasn't to last long. England's bowlers had attacked the Australians with almost ferocious intensity on that first day at Lord's. But the mark of a champion is the way in which he comes back fighting. And let's not forget that Lord's is a second home of the incomparable Glenn McGrath. England's batsmen walked out to face McGrath just before tea on the first day, and he soon had them rattled.
Oh, well bowled. That's beaten him. That's a cracking delivery.
Glenn McGrath is a bowling machine. He's a metronome, really. He just runs up and he bowls, and the ball lands on the same spot, ball after ball after ball.
Glenn McGrath is making the ball seam back a long way.
Straight after tea, with England on just 10, he struck and seized his 500th Test match wicket.
First ball, that's 500 for McGrath. Wonderful cricketer. Brilliant bowling. A wonderful delivery.
The trouble for England was that McGrath was particularly deadly at Lord's, where a unique slope of the pitch helped his attack.
What happens is at Lord's, with a slope which goes like that, if you're the batsman facing McGrath, what he does is he lands some balls, and some will go down the slope and some will go straight. It's just a sort of vagary of Lord's, really.
That's another edge and gone. Got him. Beautifully caught by Warne. Taken very low. McGrath is amongst them.
It's like he's bowling to the under-11s at one stage, but that spell was phenomenal and shows why he's one of the best fast bowlers in the world. He's has been for a long period of time, and to come out and do that, people were writing him and myself off, saying that we're too old and all those sorts of things, and they won't be able to back up match to match. And I think we basically put that to bed.
He's changed his boots and he's knocked over the big prize, 18 for 3.
When Vaughan was clean bowled after a brief and uncertain time at the crease, England stood at 18 for 3. Australia had fought back and restored the natural order.
We have an addiction to ballsing up because we do balls it up, and English cricket has been brilliant at ballsing it up for longer than anyone, would like to remember or care to remember.
Oh, he's so good. Glenn McGrath is so good. Oh, Flintoff gone too. This is brilliant. 5 for McGrath.
McGrath had reduced England to 21 for 5 and gained his 500th Test match wicket while at it. England's memories of a fair fight the day before must have been fading fast.
And that made a real clanging sound. It darted back down the hill. Beautifully bowled once again. Is something. We're really seeing some bowling here at this moment. Flintoff a duck, 4 balls, 7 minutes. McGrath the wicket, and it's 21 for 5.
The next target in McGrath's sights was new boy Kevin Pietersen on his Test match debut. He'd been a controversial selection, but it seemed his go-get-'em attitude was perfect for the occasion.
I wanted to go out and just enjoy it and have fun, take it all in. I mean, you're playing against Australia, first Test at Lord's, 21st of July. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And if you can't enjoy it, then what are you doing there?
That was a very good strike.
Here's Jason Gillespie.
The way he batted in that first innings, it was like he was playing his 100th Test match, let alone not his first.
It's good play. It's a nice measured stroke from Kevin Pietersen.
Crucially, Pietersen wasn't intimidated by the Australians' big reputations.
I don't care who's bowling at me. You've got to concentrate on the ball. That's what you've got to hit. You're not hitting McGrath, you're not hitting Warne. You're playing the ball. It's bat on ball. It's not.
And that'll run away quickly as well.
I think it's just a mental toughness you just got to get through, and you've got to focus on the job to do.
Runs for Peterson. Gillespie just straying a little bit too straight.
Say goodnight. Not everybody say goodbye. Wonderful shot. 50 up for Peterson. Half-century in his debut Test match.
He's got all the talent in the world, Kevin Peterson. Selectors were wrong not to pick him against...
It was his innings at Lord's which I think set the tone for England later in the series. And he took on the world's two best bowlers by reputation, Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne, and he hit them for sixes, and he hit them around, and he played them as if they were club bowlers. And I think that sent a message both to the England batting order that these guys aren't unplayable. We can tame them.
Peterson was on 57 when his innings was ended by a spectacular catch on the edge of the mid-wicket boundary.
Gosh, that's a great catch.
Bringing an end to a wonderful debut innings from Kevin Peterson, 57 on 122 for 9.
It fell to two bowlers, Simon Jones and Steve Harmison, to deliver the other big batting surprise of the day.
How about chasing that one?
Finds the gap, 4 runs.
In the air, this is going to be caught a bit off. That's it, all over. Brett Lee takes one ball of his new spell.
England's valiant lower order took the total to 155. But that still left the team 45 behind the Australians at the end of the innings. When England came out to bowl, it was crucial they took the game head-on. But Australia was still looking dominant.
Lovely, lovely shot. Just easy as you like. No bludgeoning there.
That's a beauty. That's where Giles can get himself into trouble. That's the first ball he's bowled that's been short.
England's spin bowler Ashley Giles was brought on for a spell, but he quickly proved too expensive.
He's going after the spinners again. He's not going to let Ashley Giles settle. More runs here. On the boundaries. Really good stroke. Quick use of the feet down the pitch. And the pressure being applied to Ashley Giles.
Oh, that's a good way to get going. You could superimpose Mark Waugh over that shot.
Australia were piling on the pressure, and they kept coming. The new boy, Michael Clarke, began to threaten.
Australia need something from Michael Clarke now.
There was a brief moment of hope for England. Early in his innings, Clarke gave Peterson a simple opportunity.
Simon Jones, first ball of his second or third spell. He'd back off the back foot, hit it straight to me at cover. Saw the ball all the way, and I was still baffled how I dropped it. I don't know, there's all these theories that people like to say about me being overexcited, walking a bit too quick, and just taken with the whole situation and just so basically just overexcited. But no, I'm not. I don't fall for it. I've just been like that all the time, and I've got a pretty good pair of hands. So no, I don't. There's no excuses, no reasons.
What you'd say about Peterson is he's an effervescent kind of electric kind of character. But the downside is if you've got electric hands, they're not so good for catching. And what he needs to do, I think, is kind of somehow take night nurse or Valium or something before he fields. So he's a bit more relaxed for catching, because that drop of Michael Clarke on 21 at Lord's in the second innings, Australia, was vital.
That's a good 50.
He went on to make 90, changed the game in Australia's favour, and you know, Australia really dominated from that point on, and it looked like the same old England.
Here's Harmison with a new ball. And there's Katic with a cracking pull stroke.
Dropped it!
Was it luck or was it nerves? Either way, things weren't going right for England, and Australia began to look more like their old selves.
350 arrives for the Australians.
Oh, and there we go again. They've let themselves down badly in the catching department. Oh, he didn't know anything about that one. Got him, no, dropped him. This is unbelievable.
It's on the hand, that's nasty. It's on the right one as well.
Finally, Simon Jones took a fantastic catch to dispatch the Australians. That left England with a daunting 420 to chase.
They keep dropping it off him. The minute he gets an opportunity to help one of the bowlers out, he latches onto it, no trouble at all.
And on the afternoon of the third day, things got worse for England. He's called Shane Warne, and arguably, he's the greatest spin bowler of all time. More than a decade ago, none of us had seen him when he stepped up to bowl that first ball against England at Old Trafford.
In 1993, we'd heard that the Australians had a guy called Shane Warne, some blonde leg spinner. We knew we could cope with this because we had Gat. Mike Gatting had murdered every leg spinner in county and test cricket for the preceding decade. Warne ran up to bowl the first ball.
Gatting, from seeing it on middle stump, suddenly sees it on leg stump, opens up.
It hit the pitch, turned, spun miles across him and hit the top of off stump. Gatting didn't believe it.
The delivery was one of the most famous balls in Test match cricket, and Warne wasn't going to let us forget it at Lord's.
That is out, surely. Did it? Well, he's looking at his bat. Perhaps it did hit the bat. That's out. Oh, that's out. Caught behind. Big neck. Trying to smash it through the offside field. A disappointed Flintoff.
How can a guy who bowls at the speed that a milk float travels cause so many problems? Young batsmen look like foals on roller skates kind of playing against him. How does he do it?
A lot of people say I'm not as good anymore, or I don't spin the ball as far, and all those sorts of things. Well, I think through this series I've spun the ball further off day one, day two pitches than I ever have. And some of the deliveries I've bowled, the one to Andrew Strauss, and there's a few others around this series that, you know, as far as I've spun the ball ever.
If he bowls, say, a big spinning leg break, you'll see the ball coming down with the seam rotating. But the difficulty with Warne is that because he puts so much spin on the ball usually drifts in the air. So for a lot of spinners, you'll see it coming down, and if you're a good batsman, you like to use your feet to the spinner and get down the pitch. The difficulty with Warne is that if you look to come down the pitch, suddenly the ball starts to drift mid-air, and you find yourself in the wrong position.
Missed by a whisker.
I didn't want to lose. I hate losing, and I think I play with that passion as well. That I think you can tell by the way I play, I don't like losing.
Big smiles all round there. It wasn't a bad bouncer, actually.
Had a plan to each batter, and they worked for most of them.
That's out. That is the straight one, the slider.
By the time Harmison had fallen prey to the infamous slider, it was as good as over for England. McGrath came in to finish what he had started. England lost. They were thrashed. All out for 180.
McGrath has picked up another wicket. 4 each for McGrath. And
on the first morning, England had looked like winners, but it was too good to be true, and it all seemed a little too familiar.
80 in 58.1 overs. Peterson not out 64.
It was so depressing because we'd had that fantastic morning session at Lord's the first day. Australian batsman hit on the head, bowled out for 190. Awesome. What everybody wanted to see, Australians cut down to size, and then suddenly, not only were England bowled out cheaply in reply, but then they dropped catches, bowled not very well, Australia got a big score and won the game, and it was almost like it was just a flash in the pan, that first innings.
They cleaned us up at Lord's and we were written off at Lord's. The headlines after day 2, day 3, day 4 were, here we go again. We're going to get cleaned up. It'll be 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. Glenn McGrath said we're going to beat us 5-0.
The spotlight was on England for all the wrong reasons. And the press and the Australian coach singled out Giles's performance for special attention. One critic even said that playing with Giles was like playing with 10 men. But in fairness, the comparisons with Warne give him little chance.
He's basically someone who can do a job, maintain pressure on batsmen, give the fast bowlers a break. And he's not going to run through you. He's not going to get 7th, and he's not going to get 600 Test wickets like Shane Warne. Now, from time to time, if he has a bad game, he's gone from an important cog in the wheel to being something that doesn't work.
Giles defended himself in his own newspaper column, making it clear that the New England would only be strong if they stuck together. England were 1-0 down and the vultures were circling. England don't have the mind, they don't have the bottle to beat these Australians, screamed the pundits. Mind you, no one, least of all those pundits, could have written the script for what was to happen 11 days later in Birmingham. Lord's had been a crushing experience for England. No matter the aggression and the intent in the play, we just didn't seem to have cricketers who could match the likes of Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. So the teams went to Edgbaston and suddenly the tide turned in England's favour, and it happened before a ball was bowled. Yes, who would have believed it? In the training session that morning, the deadly McGrath had stumbled on a stray ball.
We're warming up and we see that McGrath's being stretchered off on like a little buggy. You know he's struggling at that stage at 10 o'clock in the morning, so you get a feeling that he's not going to play. They're going to have to go in with a less experienced player.
This bloke falls over a cricket ball. And you just think, what do you mean he might not play? And in that moment, the whole thing just completely altered in tone and mood.
With one half of the world's most dangerous bowling attack gone, England had a reason to be cheerful.
Heads is the call.
The next bit of luck came on the toss of a coin.
It is a head, Ricky.
Heads it is. Ricky Ponting has won the toss. What are you going to do, Ricky?
We're going to have a bowl this morning, mate, with the overhead conditions.
Ponting's decision to field first was a terrible decision because it was obviously a batting day.
We fully expected him to bat. I mean, it looked a bit overcast, it was a bit moist, the wicket, but Edgbaston generally deteriorates over the few days and spin comes into play.
No ball. Gorgeous shot. Now that's footwork, that's quality and that's class.
With a partnership of 112, the openers gave Australia the runaround.
50 up for England. England were not going to lie down, as the Australians had thought they might. And there was nothing in the pitch that would have any alarms for England, and they were just going to go at Australia and take them on.
Run. And this time, England even had a secret plan to neutralise the Warne threat.
That was about the timing in that.
A few overs later, when Warne was introduced to the attack, Andrew Strauss, who'd practised against this bowling machine, Merlin, which England had got, this sort of big box which bowls sort of different deliveries to sort of imitate Shane Warne. He'd been practising being aggressive against this bowling machine, and he did exactly the same in the middle, came down the wicket, hit Warne back over his head a couple of times, and immediately made a statement.
It's nicely placed by Andrew Strauss. Given that to Mumpty.
Warne finally got Strauss, but not until he'd notched up 48, and his opening partner, Marcus Trescothick, made a healthy 90.
Oh, that's a terrific hit. Goodness me.
Suddenly, it was game on. The second big partnership of the day saw heroes number 3 and 4, Peterson and Flintoff, take up the reins, and they quickly reached 100 partnership between them.
Peterson and Flintoff then carried that work on, and England did play a sort of Australian-type game because they finished up scoring about nearly 5 and over.
After the pressure of Lords, Flintoff suddenly seemed to remember how to enjoy himself.
Good punchy hit, that one. Oh my goodness me. .50 partnership between these two powerful strikers of the ball and terrific entertainers.
We had a shaky start at Lords, and then from that, I just thought, I'm going to go out there and play. I'm going to enjoy the occasion, I'm going to enjoy playing against Australia, and have no fear of failure. And I think that helped me and the rest of the lads for the next few tests.
Freddie Flintoff is a very different player from a few weeks ago.
And again, and he doesn't know where that is, but it's gone for 4, it's gone for 6.
Oh, that's a few. Don't worry about that.
I shouted catch. There's a fella in the crowd stood up to try and get him.
And that's his arc century. That's beautifully played. It crashes into the boundary at cover. Andrew Flintoff.
At the end of the first day, England were all out for a heady 407.
The crowd here at Edgbaston
responsible for a lot of that with his 68. It's 290 for 5.
The following day, Australia started their first innings to a sellout crowd who had paid to see a resurgent England.
Gone. First ball.
Hayden out for a duck. Langer looking solid, and a confident Ponting joining him. Now it's the beleaguered Ashley Giles with ball in hand. After a critical mauling for his Lord's performance, he had everything to prove, and revenge would be sweet.
And just watch the reaction. It's a very animated reaction from the England players with Ashley Giles, and I think that's them saying to Giles that...
And then after Ponting came an even more satisfying scalp.
Everybody had been saying, especially after the first test, that England were doomed because, in opposition to the great Warne, all we had was the mediocre Giles. So it was a wonderful moment when Warne came complacently down the pitch, winding up to hit Giles all the way out of Edgbaston and into the bullring centre.
Warney is gone.
Was completely deceived and bowled all over the place.
It's a nice little battle for Ashley Giles to win.
Vaughan's faith in Giles had paid off.
You win as a team, you lose as a team, you draw as a team. And what we said at the beginning of the series is whatever happens, come September the 12th, we wanted to stay as a team.
With Australia all out for 308, England went back into bat. By the time the light faded, they were 124 ahead, and things were looking rosy. Day 3. Oh dear. By lunchtime, England had lost 4 wickets for 47. All hopes were pinned on Flintoff, and he didn't disappoint.
Oh, well, now. It's 6 more.
Offside.
But then, everyone's heart stopped.
Now, there's something wrong with Flintoff here.
Early on in his innings, he went for a shot and reacted as if he'd pulled a muscle in his left shoulder, and we all thought, oh no, this is the old story. Just when we seem to be on top, an injury to one of our key players.
Now, this is what has happened. He's played the square cut. Just keep your eye on him, and that's when it's happened. He's grabbed at his shoulder.
Even the physio didn't know what to make of Freddie's condition. But when he did decide to bat on, there was, it seemed, a side effect.
That's very sad and very unusual.
If anything, the injury seems to make him restrain himself and bat better.
That's a good shot. There are two men out there to cut off that stroke. And Flintoff, well, it looks as though his shoulder's loosening up a bit. Oh, Biggie. Straight into the crowd.
Just thrilling sport.
That's the end of that. Shane Warne has eventually...
Warne finally bowled him, but not before he got England out of trouble with 73.
And by the time his innings was over, there was almost no way that the Australians could win the game.
It seemed that Flintoff's sheer bloody-mindedness had saved the day. Even Warne was moved to congratulate him, and there was still more to come from Mr. Flintoff. England finished with a total of 182, and there was still work to be done. When Australia came out to bat for the second time, Flintoff bowled the over of his life.
Freddie, regardless of his batting or his brilliant fielding, or the fact that he's a wonderful team man, is the best all-round fast bowler in the world. And he showed that in one fantastic over.
Flintoff was already on a hat-trick, having bowled magnificently at the end of Australia's first innings the day before.
First innings, a couple of cracking, swinging. So we have a hat-trick ball.
The first ball was blocked.
Which is safely negotiated. Michael Kasparovich.
The second wasn't.
Oh, he's got him! Freddie Flintoff! 3 wickets in 4 balls.
And the over had only just started.
That over was the defining moment, in my mind, of Andrew Flintoff's England career. It was the moment he stopped being someone who might develop into a great player and was one. My God, what an over that was. I mean, Langer bowled off everything, up and down and whack.
One down, 235 for Australia, 9 to get for England. Ricky Ponting on strike. Oh, that's so close! And it's not out. Oh, Billy, you are under some pressure. Well, a bit high.
It's probably my best over I've ever bowled, I think. I was running in, probably still on a high from the batting, scoring 70-odd. And there's a crowd were behind us. And we knew the importance of that session we was in. We needed to take wickets and to defend our score. So I just ran in, and it's one of them overs where everything seems to happen for you.
Oh, I say. Flintoff has changed the whole feeling of the occasion.
And you see Ponting desperately trying to stay in there. He gets hit on the pad. There's a too close LBW shouts.
There's marvellous bowling this, because every ball, 3 out of 3, bang, bang, bang. They've all asked a big question of the batsman.
And he bowls 93, 94 miles an hour, and it reverses one way and it reverses the other way. Ponting is not good enough to play him, and we're talking about one of the best players in the world.
Now, Trescothick is trying to persuade Vaughan to bring in a short leg. Vaughan shaking his head at the moment. Trescothick's waving.
Ian Bell at short leg is looking at Ponting and thinking, this bloke's scared, he doesn't know what to do. And they're all wrapped up in this. Every single one of the players knew they were involved in one of the great overs of all of their careers. And Fred is massive. Then there's a no ball, so he gets one more ball. And he turns the seam round and he says, OK, it's reversing that way. What if I'll just try the other one? Swings away, reverse swings away. Ponting gets an edge, and one of the great overs ever seen I would suggest, has come to the perfect end, and 2 Australian batsmen are out. Langer is out, Ponting is out, England can win, and Flintoff's done it.
When you bowl at people such as Ponting, you've got to be on top of your game, otherwise we've seen what he can do. He scores a lot of runs, does it quickly too, so I think probably to get somebody out like of his calibre was probably the most satisfying.
If you can find for me a better ball than that and a more difficult ball to play, then you're my friend for life.
At the end of the 3rd day, England needed just 2 wickets. Australia needed 107 runs. You felt that England were close to a glorious victory. Day 4. England fans across the country woke up feeling a little different. They were optimistic. The team needed just 2 tail-end wickets to beat the Australians.
Well, by Sunday, we'd already won the game. All we needed to do was put a stamp on the envelope and post it. We turned up in order to enjoy the symbolic moment.
Could be a very short day.
What we got was 2 hours of torture and very nearly defeat.
It should have been easy.
It's gone wide of man, Andy.
But as the morning wore on, England didn't take those wickets. And Australia scored runs.
Got him! Well done, Flintoff!
Which left just 1 wicket, just 1 ball.
Shane Warne.
I lasted to Warne's wicket, and when he went out, I thought, that's it, we've done it. 2 overs passed, and I thought, we're going to lose. And I know why we're losing. As every true fan will tell you, the reason why your side loses is because you're watching them.
As the Australians got closer, the nation went into meltdown.
42 to win.
Well, you've got to give him credit for this shot. This is a super hit.
You have to go away because you're bringing them bad luck. You're cursing and praying and screaming and gibbering and drooling far too much.
That'll race away for 4-2.
Just gets closer and it's a bit. I was trying to get that on the tee about 12:30. That's not going to happen. Or maybe 1:30 will be all right.
Kastrovic is timing it well. He wants to come back for 2, which he does, and he makes.
My bowels had turned to water. I was vomiting with fear. It really was almost that visceral and unpleasant. So, with 2 televisions on, I went outside into the garden, paced up and down, shouting all the time, so I couldn't hear.
Oh, it's a full toss 4. Way down the leg side. It beats the keeper and into the rope down there for 4. 20 to win.
I could hear these occasional roars from the crowd thinking, I don't care, it's clearly not a wicket because it's the wrong kind of shot. Anyway, I didn't hear it.
Now Casper goes over the top. That's a wonderful stroke. Well, superbly well played.
I didn't hear it. Oh, God. I'm going to count the clouds in the sky.
Oh, inside edge for 4.
Oh, there's a rabbit. Oh, I'm going to watch the rabbit going all the way along the horizon. There it is, and it's disappeared.
That takes it down to 15 now. Boys steered that on away. Oh, and there's a dive down at 3rd man.
And then the ball goes up in the air and Simon Jones gets under it. He didn't quite see it properly and he muffs it. And you're thinking, well, hang on, how many to get now? 20, 15, what? Someone's got to have to get this bloke out now.
No ball called, and 4. He's gone for the Yorker, no ball. He bowled it extra fast. 9 runs to win, 1 wicket in hand.
And then they are doomed.
Comfortable single.
What the hell are we going to do? What the hell are we going to say? You know, we were supposed to win this Test match. It's 1-1. The series is alive. They're going to beat us.
Inside edge, running away on the onside. Another one.
I think they'll be quite happy with singles.
And he's done it well. It's hit him, knocked his bat out of his hand. He's called for the one. Kasparov has responded. It's 278 for 9. Full toss outside off dub, meant to be the Yorker.
And then suddenly Harmison finds a ball from somewhere that just explodes off the pitch, and Kasparov and Jones is behind it, and he's just got to get there. He's got to catch it.
Jones! Barden! Kasparov, the man to go, and Harmison has done a despair on the faces of the batsmen, and joy for every England player on the field.
I came in like this, going la 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 la, like, you know, like a couple of teenagers having a row, refusing, you know, sort of whistling in order to stop the other one from hearing them. And la 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 la. And it was a slow-mo replay of Gareth Jones leaping to his left, catching off a very bad ball from Steve Harmison.
What a superb day for English cricket. Michael Vaughan's team had levelled the series. It had been a terrifying ordeal for them playing and for us watching. We seemed to have a team that all of a sudden was confident, united and mentally strong. And you know, it dawned on us. The Ashes were on. Pressing loss and one earth-shattering victory. Cricket was off the back pages and onto the front. So, to Old Trafford with its packed stands and a whole nation on the edge of its seat.
We have a country awash with Ashes fever, courtesy of last Sunday at Edgbaston. This is Old Trafford, 4 days later. A few people to duck and weave here. England have won the toss. They're going to bat first, and if it's cricket you're talking in England at the moment, the hairs are up on the back of the neck.
Michael Vaughan chose to bat. He might have won the toss, but he'd yet to make any meaningful runs in the series of his own.
Vaughan was under pressure at Old Trafford. He was in the middle of the kind of bad trot with the bat that could easily build into a resignation issue for most England skippers before him.
With the end of Strauss, Vaughan came in to remind everyone just how good he was.
Oh, it's a full toss, and he's hit it nicely. McGrath might not make this. He's struggling to get there, and he won't be running around there and putting his foot down just short of the rope, just in case he goes over on that ankle again. Right, that takes him to 99.
Vaughan played a fantastic innings. It was the innings that everyone had been waiting for from him, and maybe that's the thing about a great captain and a great player, is when you really need it, you come up with it, and that's what he did there. It was terrific innings.
There's a lot of talk that I should have gone and played for Yorkshire. I should have played a 4-day game. But I have a huge amount of self-belief that I will do what I feel is best for Michael Vaughan, not what someone writes in the press, what someone is saying on the radio. And that is down to your individual and also having a huge amount of self-confidence.
Vaughan put England in a commanding position with a sublime 166. But at the same time, Shane Warne was also enjoying a personal triumph.
What's that done now then? Yes, out! 600 Test match wickets for Shane Warne. What a moment.
To take 600 Test wickets is extraordinary, and it's simply the greatest bowling achievement of all time. It made Warne the undisputed master of his art, but it did come at a rocky time in his personal life.
Before the series started, unfortunately, my wife and I separated, and my daughter Brooke, who's 8 years old, is into all the wristbands. She gave me a white one that said strength, and she said, "You've got to be strong, Daddy." And that was sort of my inspiration. Every time I looked at that, I thought of them. Gave me a bit of inspiration. So when I got the 600th wicket and I got the ball, I looked at the wristband and I just kissed the wristband and said, "That's for you guys." So yeah, that was a pretty special moment for me.
Warne's personal success did nothing to distract England from their plan of attack.
A lot of planning had been gone in the years before we started these Ashes, and you know, we was trying to look to a lot of the formulas of how Australia had been beaten over the years. They'd not lost that many games, but one of the aspects of them being beaten was they were chasing the game, and if you could bat first and get 400, you were always asking them to bat 100 overs to try and get near your score, and That's 100 overs opportunities to try and get wickets.
Controlled version of Andrew Flintoff. 400 on the tally for England.
England were very much on top. A first innings total of 444, and Australia had a lot of catching up to do. The Australians started well, so England called on Simon Jones to cast the spell of reverse swing.
Simon Jones comes on, and first ball again.
The Australians didn't know how to play it, and even the analyst has trouble explaining it.
Reverse swing, it's been around for donkey's years, and essentially it's curve with an old ball as opposed to shiny new ball. And what happens is the ball, when it's shiny and new, will swing in a certain way. If the shine is on this side, the ball will swing that way with a new ball or a newish ball. With reverse swing, when the shine is on this side, it swings that way. But the thing about reverse swing is it happens very late, and it happens usually the faster the bowler, the more it swings.
Day 3. Jones had forced Australia to face the prospect of a humiliating follow-on. Enter their best bowler, Shane Warne. What might he do with the bat?
That's in the air, and it's going, and it is gone. That's another good strike, and the follow-on is avoided.
Warne would go on to get 90, but rain stopped play, cancelling almost all of the third day. Eventually, Australia were all out for 302. On day 4, England went into bat and took the fight to the Australians.
Oh, he's hit that well too. That time Strauss really did get onto that back. The ball was wide, mind you. It was there for the taking. He smashed that away. This is it. That's superbly played on the back foot.
100 from Strauss helped give England a lead of 422, and they had the whole of the final day to bowl Australia out a second time. Succeed, and England would go 2-1 up and stand a real chance of winning back those Ashes.
From 6 o'clock in the morning, the queues stretched around the ground, and then by 8:40 they'd closed the gates. Can you believe that? Thousands upon thousands. Capacity at Old Trafford, 21,000 in all.
The whole country is looking for something else in every aspect of entertainment. They're looking, they don't know why they're looking for it, but they're looking for some kind of depth, some kind of gravity, some kind of meaning, some kind of multi-dimensional, multi-layered quality. And cricket quietly has been incubating for the last 10 years.
I was talking to people outside the Old Trafford ground before play started. I mean, there were thousands there, and a lot of them had got the message that there weren't any tickets.
At least 10 to 15,000 people aren't going to see this game. Some are driven, 8 hours to be there.
Another pivotal and maybe momentous day awaits us. 10 wickets for England to take, 399 runs for Australia if they're to win the game.
Here's your first ball.
At this stage, the Australians were no match for the England attack. A captain's innings was needed from Ricky Ponting.
That's a good example of Ponting playing his natural game. Happy to take on the short ball from Flintoff. What sick signal by Billy Bowden. And that went flat and hard.
Well, that's a beautiful shot, and that is Ricky Ponting's 100. It's running away down to the extra cover boundary. An elegant cover drive. Ponting's 23rd century, and it's his 5th against England.
Well, Ponting's century there was easily his best day of the tour, because it was his simplest day of the tour. He had the very straightforward task of needing to bat all day, and that's exactly what he did. It's when life has been more complicated that Ponting's found captaincy rather more challenging.
It was the uncomplicated Flintoff who challenged the Australians.
Well outside off stump there, but not there. That's some piece of bowling, I can tell you. It's 260.
4 wickets left. Warne was expected next, but instead came Gillespie, an entirely different sort of player.
That for me was a huge turning point. Gillespie came in because he's a blocker. That meant that the Aussies were not going for the runs, and that meant that for the first time in a match that counted, the Australians were playing for a draw.
He was probably our best. He's got one of the best defences of just blocking the ball, and he went in there just to try and defend as long as possible.
That is perilously close to LBW and is out. LBW. Another little reverse swinger from Matthew Hoggard. The lid is coming off the ground in Manchester. England are 3 away.
Gillespie lasted just 5 balls and England could now smell blood. They had 31 overs to take the last 3 wickets. On paper, no problem. In practice, another story.
Big shout. No, says Billy Bowden again. No.
Put it down. He has put it down, and it's Kevin Peterson. Now, there's all sorts of things that could go around. Old lines like, has he dropped the Ashes?
Oh, he's flayed that one through the offside field. Strauss actually dropped it, it then popped up, and well, Geraint Jones took the catch.
That's well bowled. It drew Warne into the stroke and gone straight through his hands.
Oh, he's beaten him. He's bowling a really good line, and he's bowling it pretty fast as well. Just short. Now the end of the over. Still 2 wickets needed.
Lee got it away, but it was short of the fielder. The roar from the crowd was not the only roar we've had. They've been very animated all day.
Jason. Oh no, says Billy Bowden. say, for all England's joy, imagine what Ponting is going through now.
Still searching for the Yorker.
That's worth a shout, does it? Not out.
Now again, England will hope this goes to the boundary.
Hang on, there's someone running onto the field.
Well, you've got 6 balls. What do you bowl? Do you bowl one in the ribs first to keep him on the back foot, or do you try and bowl? I think you get one in the ribs.
Everybody on their feet. Roaring Harmison on. That is how fine this thing is. Minute. Nothing. 1 ball remains. Here we are. Brett Lee has done it. Redemption from Edgbaston. An amazing performance by Australia to bat through the day.
I think if they should have been on the other foot, we'd have done the same. I think they've batted all day. They've hung on in there in a nail biter again. And I think Brett Lee deserved to celebrate, to us. He played another great knock. He came so close at Edgbaston, and then at Old Trafford, he managed to bat the time and see him to a draw. You know, probably at that stage for them, that was probably like a win.
Australia were relieved to have got out of a game. Now, I don't think that's happened for 18 years against England. So I knew we were getting better and better. I was delighted to see Australian players on the balcony, on the pitch, hugging each other because they'd drawn, not won a game.
Australia haven't been questioned like this before. You know, they're being questioned now, and they're questioning themselves.
Felt weird celebrating a draw, but I think it was more the emotion of just hanging on and the way we hung on and the way Ricky fought.
England would have won that match had the weather not intervened. They would have had plenty of time to bowl McGrath out or Lee out. Instead of 24 balls, they'd have had a day and 24 balls, more or less. But England, for their part, felt strong.
With 10 days to go before the teams met again, Australia had time to regroup and, more importantly, Glenn McGrath had time to recover. But there was no doubt in England's mind. They had outplayed the Australians in Manchester, and the key thing was that they knew they could do so again. This was still level. The teams went to Nottingham with all to play for, and Michael Vaughan expected every man to do his duty.
Trent Bridge. The crowds came early to see Ricky Ponting win the toss and elect to bat.
How quick the outfield is when you hit them like that.
There's placement and power.
They didn't have a particularly good first day, England, because Druskothic and Strauss sort of put on a good opening partnership. Then they lost Bell. And then Vaughan and Peterson sort of rebuilt it a bit. But then Vaughan got out near the end of the day.
Well, Ponting has pulled it off.
4 wickets down, not so good.
The second morning started well for Kevin Peterson, who hit a string of boundaries. But his luck didn't last.
The next morning was crucial. And Peterson was out early, so suddenly you thought, oh dear, 250 for 5. The Australians have had a result here, and they could easily bowl England out for 300. But this England side is made of sterner stuff, and the engine room really came to the fore there. That's Flintoff and Jones.
No ball called. and that goes into the boundary for 4. It's a lovely shot.
Fred, by now, is the threat. He's the one Australia had to get past. But the one thing he needed to do to complete the set, if you like, was to play the patient innings to help England realise a good total to put Australia under pressure.
Flintoff has got onto one and also gone on to 50. Shot boy. Oh. That's just a firm push, isn't it? He's such a big man with that power. But that's batting. That's not hitting, that's batting.
The funny thing about that innings is that it wasn't as spectacular as some of his earlier innings. And it wasn't in some ways as memorable because there weren't the scary moments that punctuated particularly his first knock at Edgbaston. He was in control, he played straight, he played orthodox. Every time the ball went to the boundary, you just thought, well, that's the right shot to that ball. There's nothing particularly special about that. It's just an Australian quick bowler and he should be dispatched to the boundary.
This was Flintoff's first Test 100 against Australia and was clear evidence that Freddie had come of age.
Oh, it's in the air and a slight mishit, but down the ground, mishits from Flintoff tend to go further than mishits from most.
And there it is. Watched it close, turned it to the onside easily, and that's his 5th Test match century, first against the Aussies.
Test of an all-rounder is to be able to bat at 6 and get hundreds when they really mean something. Now, this was the point where that happened. You know, his bowling had been fantastic all series, his batting had been great, such as it was, but this was a quality class innings from a quality player.
When England were all out at tea on the second day, they'd reached an imposing total of 477. If the Australians found England's batting lineup formidable, they now had to face a relentless bowling attack. Matthew Hoggard took 3 quick wickets for starters.
Oh, that's out. That's out.
Yes.
Is there inside edge? Langer walks. And the finger goes up. More wonderful swing bowling from Matthew Hoggard.
England have had a 5-prong attack, 4 pace bowlers, constantly going at the Australian batsmen. There's been very little respite from them.
Not least from swing bowler Simon Jones, who was waging his own psychological war on the Australians.
What he wanted to show more than anything else was that he wasn't a one-trick pony. He wanted to show that he could bowl conventional swing. And of course, if you do that, having been the king of reverse, the Australian batsmen are looking for something that's not there. They're looking for the ball to go the other way, and it goes the right way, and that unsettled them.
Jones looks to me incredibly fit. He looks dangerous, quite scary really. He looks like a man who's done 300 press-ups and sit-ups a day, as if he's just come out of prison.
You could see this was Jones's moment. He was absolutely there. The crowd were willing him on. For the first time, maybe he felt he was going to make a contribution to win a Test match.
Is this out? Yes! What a good catch.
5 wickets for Jones for just 44 runs. The Australians all out and still 259 behind. A humiliation. They were forced to follow on.
The psychological significance of making Australia follow on, not Zimbabwe or Bangladesh or somebody else, but Australia, the world champion team who've devoured everyone in their path for all this time, they are now mortal. They are now someone to whom you ask the question, have another bat, because you haven't got enough. You haven't got enough. We've bowled you out.
Michael Vaughan is saying it's going to be hard work out there, boys. Are you up for it, bowlers? They say yes, and it's the first time Australia have been asked to follow on since they played Pakistan at Karachi back in 1988.
That's big stuff. That is England saying, we're better than you, actually. You have another bat. Do better this time. See how you go.
The follow-on is it's an interesting psychological thing. It's not necessarily always the smartest thing to do, but it is like kind of whipping a towel off someone as they're coming out of the showers and pointing at them and going, ha ha.
The follow-on was a risk. It made a draw far less likely.
It was a gamble in some respect, but I asked the bowlers whether they were prepared to go out and try and bowl Australia out again. They're the ones that matter, not myself, and they all stuck their hand up and said, we're ready.
We were hoping they'd enforce the follow-on, but we thought that was our best way of winning the game. We thought if we get 150 to 175 ahead, then we thought there were a real chance. And I remember Simon Kadich coming to me in the morning and said, how many do you need? And I said, I reckon around 170, 180, I reckon we'll win. He said, okay.
To win, Vaughan would have to outthink Australia. Tactics and strategy would become as important as bat and ball. Placing the fielders would play a crucial role in the battle to come.
Throughout the series, Vaughan has put fielders in unusual but effective positions. For example, for Langer, who's an opening batsman, Vaughan puts a man on the deep point boundary. Now, conventionally, that would be seen as a sign of weakness. You don't set a man on the boundary for your rough, tough, macho opening bowlers. But Vaughan knows that that shot is a very good shot.
You play your best shot, and you're not getting 4 for it, you're only getting 1. It can piss you off, and we try to just try and create that image where Australia like to bully the oppositions. They like to get on top from ball 1. They want to hit boundaries. They want to put the bowlers straight away under pressure. So I was trying to ask them the question, can you put our bowlers under pressure by not scoring the big 4s, so we block that off, and let's see what other options they had of scoring. And, it created probably a few opportunities in the field because it maybe frustrated them. I think that was one of the key factors. We managed to frustrate them and make them play shots that maybe they wouldn't play in another game.
What it means is, firstly, they only get 1 instead of 4. Secondly, it means they lose the strike. That batsman loses the strike and ends up down the other end. And it's been a very clever thing because the Australian batsmen, as a result, haven't really found a plan B. They've had this plan A, which is, so I'll come in and smack some 4s here and smack some 4s there. Oh, I've only got 1 for that, and I've lost the strike. I'm down the other end now. Damn.
Like Vaughan, Ponting was under huge pressure to deliver, both as a batsman and as a captain.
Oh, there's a really good one, made by the use of the feet.
Ponting looked increasingly confident. The partnership he built with Damien Martyn had the makings of a match saver.
Martyn and Ponting are putting on a stand. They're building runs. Ponting's out there batting for his life, for his reputation, under tremendous pressure. Martyn drops the ball into the offside and calls Ponting from the non-striker's end for a run.
Well, it was a dodgy single, period. Martin's hit the ball too close to the bloke at cover. They committed the cardinal sin of cricket, getting run out.
Run out? What do you mean run out? Australian captain in that situation. Run out? And then he looks at the bloke who's run him out and he doesn't recognise him. He thinks, what? That's not Peterson, who's that? It's some bloke on the field because Jones is off, having a comfort break. By that stage, I'm sure Ponting didn't know how serious Jones's injury was, but he didn't bother to find out, and he's made himself look a complete arse, quite frankly. And then he goes off and the camera stays on him and he gets to the steps at the pavilion and he looks up at the England balcony and Duncan Fletcher, the coach, is there, and he's going, you're cheating. And everyone looking at it thinking, what's happened? They nicked his wallet.
Simon Jones was legitimately injured, so he's allowed to have a substitute fielder. I don't think that was the issue. The issue was every time they bowled a spell and going off and having a shower and having 10, 15 minutes breather, and just most of the time having 1, 2, 3 substitute fielders on at any one time. And that wasn't really in the spirit of the game.
Ponting had got it wrong. Jones was genuinely injured. But in truth, England had been a little creative with the substitute rule. England were now showing an almost Australian style of ruthlessness. They were playing to win. Australia inched their way back into the game by tea on the 4th day. They were ahead by 129, but still well short of Shane Warne's target of 170. Victory was within England's reach.
England need 129 to win.
They started off fairly comfortably and Trescothick was aggressive and they scored good runs. But you just knew that Warne was going to produce something. Warne's just said, give me the ball, Ricky. Go and find somewhere to field and I'll sort it out. OK, I'm in charge now. You might wave your hands around a bit, but I'll change the fielder there and I'll do that. And just leave it to me because this is serious. And if I don't do it, no one's going to do it.
Gone!
I reckon that's about pat it is. The first one for Australia and the first ball from Shane Warne.
If I was the captain of Australia and I had Shane Warne in the team, I'd be making as much use of him as possible. He's got a fantastic cricket brain. He's one of the greatest cricketers that's played the game. He's got a lot to offer. He must have a lot to offer. And I'm sure that Ricky Ponting uses his knowledge extensively.
There's this dichotomy within the team. Ponting's almost a puppet of a captain. And he must feel like that because he knows that Warne has the experience, the gravitas, the heroism, the respect, you know, and the spirit and the leadership quality, you know, and the fearlessness of what Australia may well have needed.
Some saw this moment as an example of the dominant Warne undermining the uncertain Ponting.
I've had my opportunity of captaining Australia, and I enjoyed those few one days that I did, and I think in our side we've got a few senior players that help Ricky out and give him some helpful advice, and if he wants to take it, it's up to him.
I was in a wedding reception. Snuck a moment in the drinks before the meal to text my brother to say, have we won yet? The message came back, 70 for 4, Warne bowling brilliantly.
That's great bowling. Fantastic cricketer this guy is.
And it was as if a cold hand had seized a grip of my entrails. I could see vividly in my mind's eye the ball going sideways all over the place, Warne appealing for everything that hit any part of the batsman's anatomy, an England batsman going to and fro from the pavilion with monotonous regularity. It was a terrible, terrible moment.
Despite Warne's heroics, England crept towards the 129 they needed to win. But they'd lost all their top batsmen. Then the 7th wicket went down.
This is going to be out. Kasparovich won't drop this. This is all over. That's it. Another down. The pressure has got to Gareth Jones.
And the bowlers, Giles and Hoggard, were in. Was it going to be an England victory? Was there even a chance that Australia could win? In a series like this, nothing could be taken for granted.
2 hours of Trent Bridge was some of the most agonising telly, most nail-biting, scary stuff. And that includes some pretty gory horror films and, you know, nasty thrillers. It was edgy, really, really edgy stuff.
And that's it. Those are the winning runs for England.
The winning runs were hit by Giles, tucked modestly through the leg side. And who should he be facing but his nemesis, Warne?
England had gone 2-1 up in the series. They'd only need a draw at the Oval to bring home the Ashes.
Last of the heroes for England in one of the more tense situations I've ever come across in watching cricket.
Is the misery of losing outweighed by the pleasure of winning? And I think for England it is. Because England is like a championship league or a second division soccer team in a strange sort of way. I support Norwich City in soccer, say. And I really don't mind when we lose because I expect us to. But when we win, I am so happy, infinitely happier than any Arsenal supporter or Chelsea supporter ever could be.
Even though they've been dominating Australia throughout every game since Lord's, they've not quite been able to. It's almost as though perhaps they can't quite believe they're in this position. And credit to Australia, they never give in as well. They've got this residual kind of competitive instinct that comes out, and they fight to the wire.
There's no doubt that England have been the best side. I mean, they've played generally the better cricket.
It shows an amazing amount of inner sort of fight and self-belief and skill to have got to where they've got to at the end of the 4th test and to be leading the series. And, you know, it's been an immense performance that's put cricket back on the map in this country and made people in this country really believe that we have got winning sportsmen again.
Around about 10 million people watched that game in the UK alone, and suddenly, from a crushing defeat at Lord's, England had turned the sum around and they led 2-1. As for the Aussies, they were on the ropes. Imagine this, to retain the Ashes, they had to win here at the Oval. Dawn at the Oval. England 2-1 up and only needing a draw to finally bring home the Ashes. For Michael Vaughan's team, chances like this come once in a lifetime.
William Blake's Jerusalem rang out all over the nation that morning. Some even compared the hype to the 1966 Football World Cup. One thing was certain: winning the toss would be critical to England's chances.
Michael Vaughan has the coin and Ricky Ponting will call.
Heads is the coin.
The toss was crucial because what England needed to do was to try and bat Australia out of the game.
Tail. Michael Vaughan has won the toss.
Won the toss and batted first. It was a belting pitch, and they just thought, right, 400, 450, and it's ours.
It's almost the public and the press thought we'd won the Ashes anyway. There's all these plans being made which didn't help us, to be honest, being told about open-top buses and such like.
Bowling there.
With expectations already high, England's openers made a fine start.
All outside of stuff between second and third.
Beautiful shot. Just a lovely, lovely straight drive. Shot of the morning for me from Marcus Trescott.
Then that man Warne took charge of the ball, and it was as if he was taking on the English single-handed.
Warne changes the game. That's what he's been so great at over the years.
Oh, that's brilliant! Fantastic catch.
And it's a scary sight for batsmen. And if you're an England supporter, you're trembling when that happens.
The best move must be, and always will be, the move that your opponent least wants you to play. And that's what Warne has. He knows what the batsman doesn't want to happen, and that's what he makes happen.
England's captain came to the crease to steady the ship.
He's a thinking bowler, not just because he's a great leg spinner, but the way he changes his field, he'll change his angle of delivery, he'll float a few up, he'll bowl a few faster.
Well, sometimes it's creating an impression of something's happening when it's not really. And that's a combination of a lot of different things.
You fancy scoring off him, but he creates opportunities because he's that clever. He's quite a wily old fox.
And sure enough, Warne the Fox trapped his prey. With Warne on a roll, England's batsmen were falling apart.
Ooh, that is close. That's really well bowled.
Bowled him! There it is, the battle's over! And Shane Warne gets his fourth. That's big, big, big for Australia.
You think back to the 70s, and the archetypal Australian hero was a Dennis Lilly with a big moustache and, you know, bulging biceps and shirt flapping and bowling at 90 miles an hour. And now it's Shane Warne with his bottle blonde hair and his earring and his flashing smile and a fat tummy.
Well, I mean, English people have a love-hate relationship with Australians.
Well, you could call it a love-hate relationship. I loved them and they hated me.
They did finally break into a chorus of, "We wish you were English, we only wish you were English." And I think they would love Warney to be English. I think if England had Shane Warne, they could really go places as a team.
Well, England didn't have Warne, but luckily they did have Strauss, who went serenely past his 50.
Pick one player in advance, one England player, to play the innings that England needed, it would be Strauss.
Runs for Strauss again, backward a point.
Someone at the top has to get you runs, has to get you a start. And he just concentrated. He knew exactly what he had to do, which was to bat time as well as score runs, and he set himself to do it brilliantly. When Fred came in, at that point, England are thinking, well, actually, we probably, if we don't do anything stupid, if we just hold ourselves together for the next 2 sessions, this is it.
He's right, it was effortless, isn't it? That's what I like to see.
Oh, he's hit that one. It's going a long way down in the ground. Is it over the top? Well, the crowd is signalling 6. I'm not too sure. One way or the other, it's Freddie Flintoff's half-century.
He's so good that the only way that you're going to come unfounded is if you start thinking too much. And when someone like that thinks too much, he gets confused. So He's just better off going to play with the ball. He's outstanding. With the bat, he's naturally can hit it out the ground at will.
But now he's worked out that the game batting is not only about fours and sixes, it's about controlled shots and, you know, finding the gaps and kind of manipulating the bowling to your favour.
After Flintoff's 50, Strauss reached 100 and became the only player on either side to do so twice in the series.
Shot. That's his 100. This has been a superb knock. That's Mrs. Strauss there, and boy, she's delighted.
And the Ashes were seeming to look safer by the ball. But that didn't last. England collapsed under pressure, all out for 373.
A marvellous hand today.
It wasn't bad, but was it good enough to defend?
Makes the decision for Shane Warne.
It just gave a little sniff of an opportunity to Australia. 370 was a bit of a nondescript score. They had the chance of getting to 500 and doing the thing that they really wanted to do, which was to set Warne going on a slightly wearing pitch and put England under pressure.
The morning, day 2, and Australia started to bat with greater resolve than at any time in the series.
Into the gap, and it races away to the boundary. That's the first 4. Oh, good shot. He's got that one away too.
But for the next 2 days, the great British weather took over, and the Australians surprised everyone by showing a reluctance to bat in bad light.
You know, the conditions were borderline playable. It was arguable that you would come off in normal circumstances, but these were not normal circumstances. And I think it was, if it wasn't important in terms of the time that was actually lost, it was a psychological blow to Australian esteem. I think as a cricket team, you always try to do what the opposition doesn't want. And in this sense, I think they did exactly what England would have preferred them to do.
That was a decision that, you know, I thought we maybe had to stay out there because of the time in the game. But that was a decision that was made.
When the weather finally cleared, the game was on a knife edge. With both Australian openers making hundreds, they were on course for a big total and a daunting lead.
Langer watching the ball close onto the bat. Oh, good shot. He's got that one away too.
But they hadn't reckoned on Fiery Freddie. With Simon Jones out injured, Flintoff embraced the challenge of bowling for 2.
An old ball, I might say.
18 overs in a row, astonishing performance for a bloke who must have been almost physically out of gas.
2-1 up when you're on the brink of to do something special. You know, you just don't seem to get tired, your body doesn't ache. You just want to be involved, you want the ball in your hand and you want to make a difference.
Must be LBW, surely. Yep, it's a slow death from Rudy Kitson, but it is a death. That's also close. That is also out.
It's been an extraordinary privilege to watch this bloke, this force of cricketing nature, just say, I have the tools here, I have the power, and you're going to witness me doing these things with bat and ball.
Could be out. It's a good catch. Australia all out. 367.
Everyone had expected Australia to establish a big first innings lead, but incredibly, they didn't even get past England's total. So when the new innings began, the game was still wide open, and England were facing the magnificent Warne once again.
Oh, nice area, Shane.
I think there's a few England supporters there trying to con the umpires into taking England off.
There was this wonderful byplay in the crowd between the English elements and the Australian elements, where the Englishmen were flourishing their umbrellas in the air, and the Australians were taking off their shirts in order to indicate that it was basking Australian sunshine. And of course, the Australian players went along with the gag by coming on in sunglasses, which was just a golden moment.
You not again. What are they doing?
Before long, the English fans got their wish and play was ended by bad light again. The last day of the summer, and the Ashes still in the balance. The tension was palpable, and England's challenge was clear. Bat out the day, and the Ashes would be theirs.
Morning, everyone. Stirring moments. Anticipation on everyone's face around the ground, and everyone is waiting for this final day.
The old warhorse Glenn McGrath, the scourge of English batsmen over the past decade, summoned up one last mighty effort to wrest the series from England's grip.
Oh, beautifully bowled. That's much better. Wickets are what Australia need. In the air. Oh, what a catch. What a magnificent catch.
Look at this grab from Adam Gilchrist. Absolutely sensational. And the breakthrough that Australia wanted this morning, can they get on a roll from here at 67 for 2?
The very next ball, it was Ian Bell in the firing line.
2 slips in position. In the air, got him! Warren's got him! That's a catch! That's 2 in a row! The Aussies are back in business. Well, have a look at him. This is unbelievable. Surely we can't have another finish like those that have gone before.
And with McGrath on a hat-trick, who should step up to the plate but Kevin Peterson?
Here we go. Oh, has he got him? A big appeal, not out, hit him on the arm.
Oh, dear, oh dear. Let's have a close look here. Shoulder, fantastic decision.
He knew that this was his opportunity, but this was also his threat. This was also the possibility of being the man who bottled this important juncture in English cricket. So he had everything to gain and everything to lose as well.
It's a fine line sport sometimes, and we had held one of those couple of catches early when he was on nothing at the start of the last Test match. He probably averaged around 30, and people would have been saying, "Is he good enough for Test cricket?"
Oh, he's dropped it.
But someone was smiling on Peterson.
Is that the moment or what? It's almost...
He followed one from Lee. It went head high to Shane Warne, his old mucker at slip, the sort of thing that Warney would normally swallow, and somehow it just burst through his hands.
Most extraordinary.
And it's interesting, when a chance comes under circumstances like that, how hard your hands can get.
Saw a big flash, Brett Lee bowling, and I had my hands there, and it looked like I just felt, oh yeah, I've got this, thank you. And then it just sort of hit me right down on the drumstick there, and so I must have dipped, so it did me for lack of pace. So I've caught some unbelievable ones over the years, and it does make you feel better that you drop one. I think it's probably the worst feeling in cricket, no matter what the situation of the game.
Fortune favours the brave, and I'm a pretty brave cricketer, I'm a pretty positive cricketer, and that's the way I went about my business, and I took the attack to Australia.
There you go. Just can't see the problem. Oh, that's a heck of a strike. My goodness. Really, that's exceptional cricket.
And it's just the sporting gods up there decided that, no, we're going to drop a few and give him a bit of a life, and he's going to have a bit of luck, and it's going to be his day. And in between having all that, he played, an unbelievable innings and showed what a great player he is, what an outstanding player he could be.
Nicely played. That's the 50 for Peterson.
The way he attacked after lunch on that last day altered the whole atmosphere and feeling, and I think that was the moment that Australia just thought, no, it ain't going to happen for us.
That one, where's it gone? Straight in the air, it's another 6! Again he goes. Sean Tate, it was a good effort. Hang on to it. Oh, what a corker that shot was. It's baseball.
Peterson batted out of his skin, but the possibility of defeat still existed. When Collingwood was England's 6th wicket to fall, they were still only 192 ahead, and there was plenty of time left for Australia to make the necessary runs.
Terrific catch.
That's a beautiful stroke with which to make your maiden Test century. The last Test match of an Ashes series.
To me, the critical moment almost of the whole series, and that's not underestimating everything that had gone before, came in the 71st and the 72nd over. First, Brett Lee bowled a ball of 94.7 miles an hour. That's very, very quick.
He has played some fantastic cricket today. When he hits big.
Massive eruption. Great relief of tension, but still not quite enough, still not quite there. Next over, Peterson faces Warne. What's Warne got left? What has he got left? The great champion.
What a bit of batting.
And he got there and he hit it back over his head for 6. That, to me, was the moment everyone on the field and everyone on the ground knew England finally were going to win the Ashes.
Did that cleanly.
A tired Glenn McGrath finally got his man for a spellbinding 158, but by then it was too late for Australia to save the Ashes.
England under severe pressure, and he's played the innings of his life.
Peterson will receive a standing ovation. He gets one from Shane Warne at the moment.
Shane and I are good friends, speak to each other daily, and I feel sorry for him. I mean, he did his part and he was magnificent in the series. He was absolutely sensational. The bloke is a true champion and a true legend, and I respect him as much as any legend. He's just fantastic.
Oh, what a delivery. Giles kicks the turf in disgust, but Warne is unbowed and unbeaten to the end.
With England 341 runs ahead and only a few overs left to play, the game was effectively over. For Warne and McGrath, it was the end of an era.
I said to Glenn, come here, this is the last time you and I are going to be here. We've done pretty well over here in this sort of time. It's the last time we're going to play together over here in England. Come here, and just walked off together.
The end was a total anticlimax in a way. After all these incredible matches and tense finishes, we're then standing around for 20 minutes, and I was outside the England dressing room at that point, and they were just waiting for something to happen. And there were the umpires, sort of posing around, looking at the light. Everyone just wanted the game to be called off. And it was odd in a way. It showed how cricket kind of still has this old-fashioned kind of ambience about it, that the umpires, 2 men in white, have to stride out to the middle and deliberately take the bails off before the match can be called off. It was a charade.
What a performance from these two gentlemen.
All-time perfect. There it is.
England have regained the Ashes.
The Oval Test match was fantastic. To come down to the last day of the series, I'm not sure how many series over the years have come down to the last day, just about the last session of the whole series.
We had brilliant attacking batsmanship, we had terrific defensive batsmanship, we had wonderful swing bowling, we had brilliant leg spin, and we got no result. It was just perfect. It was the kind of test match that is just impossible to explain to Americans because there was no result. And everyone wanted them to be no result.
When we beat Australia, it is a joy that you cannot possibly transmit or communicate to others. It is so intense, it radiates your whole being, and you skip on air for weeks.
Well, these are some of the most fantastic scenes ever seen in English cricket.
It's been a summer story, a summer-long story. We've had, good weather, we've had bad weather, we've had excellent crowds, we've had 20,000 people turn away on Monday from Old Trafford. It's just been awesome, and cricket is a brilliant sport, played by pretty good guys, and I think it's back where it belongs, and I hope it stays there.
And I've probably been a nightmare to live with throughout the whole summer. My wife's not really got much conversation out of me at all. And throughout the summer, my mind's just been purely focused on trying to achieve what so many people have tried to do. But I generally believe we had an opportunity to do so. And when you believe you have an opportunity, you have to try and take that.
So there it is, finally. The most famous cricketing trophy of all, reclaimed after 16 long years. And with it come memories of the greatest series that the world has ever seen.
Got him! Well, Giles has done his stuff.